Hey friends, let's work on our easy mode AutoCAD theater conversion. So if you are in your module for this section of the course, you should find this easy mode resource files page and download this exit theater plan and section DWG file. So I'm going to go ahead and download that, even though I should already have it in that folder, but it's cool. We got it now. We know where we're supposed to be. Okay. So the other thing we'll do is start a new Vectorworks file. I've already done that. And then you'll go into the theater floor plan layer. You will create a locus, which is this sort of 2D reference point. You'll just create one, and then you will set its X and Y to 0, 0, 0. And that should be at the center of your drawing. So this drawing has a random one that's in some other place. I don't know how I did that, but I'm going to force select it and get rid of it. Delete. Okay, great. So theater floor plan, we have a locus now at 0, 0. If you started out way off to the side in this template file, which is entirely likely, you can hit this page, fit to page area, and it'll bring you back to the center. And then you'll see your locus. So that's step one. Then we're going to import our DWG file. So you download it, but you can't just double click to open it. It won't do that. You have to actually import it into Vectorworks. So we'll do that over here. We'll go find it in our downloads. There it is. We'll open that up. It's going to do its whole thing. We're just going to let it go ahead and do that thing. Okay. So now it has imported our file, right? The catch is that when a AutoCAD file comes into Vectorworks, it is in a different scale. You'll notice that our locus has disappeared, right? It should be over here at 0, 0, and it's not. And that's because we're in a different scale than that layer. So if I click on that layer, my new drawing disappears. And if I click back over here, my locus disappears. In order to fix that, we have to make sure that these are the same scale throughout the drawing. And if you double click on that stack of sheets, you'll see this one is in 1 to 50 and everybody else is in 1 to 48 or standard 1/4 inch scale. So we can come in here and change the scale. I'm just double clicking my way through to 1/4 inch. You can also change it up here in this scale tab on your top menu, but I'm already this far in. So I'm going to say, okay, okay, okay. And now it just got a little bit bigger, but that's what we want because I can see it now aligned with our locus. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is pick a center point in the drawing and match up this plan to that center point, right? To that locus that we've drawn. I'm going to choose, let's see, I'm on this drawing right now. So I'm going to just choose the sort of center of this front row of risers as that center point. Typically, we would have a center line, plaster line situation, which we don't have right now. And the plaster line is the line of the proscenium, but this is like a little baby black box. So who knows where that would be. So I'm going to just choose this spot here as the center of my drawing. I drew that rectangle in there so that I would have a nice clean snapping point, right? Otherwise it's going to be a little tricky to find. And I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to go to that center line, that center point that I decided. I'm going to snap that to the locus, okay? So what that has done is centered up our theater within the space, okay? And that was our first step. So now I can delete that rectangle. I don't actually need it. Now I'm going to start tracing my theater floor plan in Vectorworks in 3D. So the exit theater plan and section right now is on the very top layer, and I'm going to drag it down to the bottom layer. And I'm also going to make it grayed out. So when I go here, it's now sort of the gray former version of itself. We are in Gray Snap Others anyway, so I will still be able to snap to it as I trace the drawing, but I'm not going to be confusing the drawing lines with the stuff I'm adding on top of it in our theater floor plan. Okay, so next step is to get the wall tool out, and that is over here in the little house. Our first tool in the little house is the wall tool. We are coming in with a whole bunch of information up here. with a wall style, a pre-existing wall style for a theater flat. And that doesn't work for us, right? Because a theater flat, when I create it, is only 3 inches thick, and that's not how thick our exterior wall is. So we're going to come in first and measure how thick is this wall, right? So I'm going to just what is our thickness? 1 foot 7 1/4. That doesn't seem right. Now we're going to measure the thickness of our walls, because our walls are not going to be the correct thickness. Okay, great. 8 inches thick. Okay, so we're going to go back to the part where we were, which was tracing the walls. So I just do a little mischief. I think that this will not be correct when it comes in as a DWG, but we'll double check that, each of you individually, as you do it. So this is saying I'm a theater flat 3 inches. That's not what I want, because that's not going to be big enough to go around this outside edge. So I'm actually going to hit this pencil wrench, which opens up the tool preferences for the wall tool. And we are going to change the attributes of this wall. Okay, and we'll do it in the component right here. We're going to hit edit. We're going to change the name of this to exterior wall 8 inches, because that's the thickness of the exterior wall. And then we'll change the thickness of it to 8 inches. And then the last thing we're going to change is the fill. So instead of a solid fill, we are going to use a hatch. And we're going to come in here and find something like this cast iron in the ANSI settings that will give us diagonal lines, which is the standard for any sort of cut through in a CAD file. So the other thing I'm going to do is make both of these the same at 0.25 thickness, say okay. It's now made all of these adjustments. It looks different from how it did, and we say okay again. And now when we're on our theater floor plan layer, right? So I want to make sure I'm not on my exit theater layer, I'm on my theater floor plan layer. I can come in and draw these walls. Now, the walls are inserted based on the control line, right? So the dots are showing you which lines you're creating. I'm going to switch to the right control line, and then I'm going to just trace around the outside of this space first, and then I'll come in and add that other wall. So there it is. We already have the whole wall now drawn in. And then I'm going to snap here at this intersection to draw this center wall that breaks up the backstage to the stage, right? So this is like the little backstage dressing room area. That's the stage. It's a teeny tiny black box. Okay, so now we have our walls going around the space. They are, at the moment, if I hit Shift C, right, it's created these 3D walls, which is great. But they are at the moment only 10 feet tall, and you can see that right here. So we want to actually change the height of these walls to match this drawing up here. So I'm going to just take a measurement, and that's 17 feet, okay? So now I can come in and just select them. I'm holding Shift and selecting them all, and I'll make them 17 feet tall instead. Okay, great. So our next tool that we're going to use is the door tool, and that's over here, door, right? Ooh, hold on, we don't have a stage. This room is sitting on nothing. Let's quickly build a stage. So I'm going to just come in here and make a rectangle. I'm going to draw it over the whole thing, and then I'm going to extrude it downward, right? So I'm going to leave the 0 line of the drawing at the floor, and I'm going to make a -8 inch extrusion down below the floor. So now we have a surface of the stage, right? So it's sitting now on top of that rectangle that is the floor. That's going to help us out later. Okay, doors. Doors are next. So we come over here into this door tool, and it's going to pick up a random unstyled door. That's going to go here, right? So I'm going to just kind of snap it to the center of where this door is, and then I get this handle. So I can just flip it around until it matches up with the door in the drawing, and then I click again, and I get a door plopped into that wall in that place. Okay, so I'm going to do that for each of my doors. Which way? This way. Great. Then I need to actually change one of the settings in the door mode to give me dashed lines. So you'll notice in this version, you will not notice it when we turn off that guy. You will still not notice it. In a plated version of this, you would actually not want to see solid lines here. You would want to see dashed lines. So we're going to do that in our floor plan, even though it's not the case in our tracing. So in order to get that, we have to actually edit one of the settings inside the door. So if you come into your door, you have it selected, you can come in over here and change settings, and it'll open up this whole door parameters box. There are 1 million things you can change. Most of the stuff that we were doing in our door project is editable here in the plugin. But we're actually going to just look at this 2D visualization, which is going to be what it looks like in top plan view. And we're going to set the attributes by, let's see, line style? What happens then? Sure, right? You can also set it by class and have individual classes, but we're going to do line style. And the thing I want to change is the wall lines, and I want to make them a dashed spaced or a dashed line. Either of those would be fine. I also have to tell it to draw them. So that's that checkbox up here. So I want it to draw the wall lines, and then I want to make them a dashed line. Okay. Then I say okay. And now I should get dashed lines, right? If I turn all the way off that other guy. I think that other dashed line might be better just for the scale of this drawing. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to update it to that other dashed line. So back into settings, back here, I'm going to go just to ISO 02, which is just a regular dashed line and not a dashed spaced line. I think that's actually better. Yeah, great. So we're going to do that for all of our doors. Go ahead and give them each their own. You can select more than one at a time and switch this all around, draw those wall lines, change the line style to dashed. Okay. All right, so now my doors all have dashed lines, right? If I turn this off. Beautiful. Okay, so I have walls, I have doors. The next step is going to be to add the risers in, and we're going to just trace those from this drafting. So I'm going to turn that back on again. I'm going to first go ahead and create each one, and then we'll figure out what they should be extruded to by measuring on our section plan. Okay, so I'm going to start by just creating a big rectangle that sits underneath the whole riser, right? And then I'm going to just stack up. I'm doing it. It's hard right now because I can't see through them. I'm going to switch to none temporarily so that I can trace better. When I click back away, it's going to turn it back to solid, and I'm going to switch it back to none. And then after I've drawn all of these rectangles, I will make them solid again. Okay. So we come in here, we'd be like, this guy, and this guy, and that guy. Now we have all of those riser rectangles, and then I can turn them all solid again. So hold on Option to select them all and switch their fill. Oops, it's doing something strange. All right, let's do them individually. Switch their fill to solid, one at a time. Great. So now that I have all of these solid blocks, now I can come over here and I can measure and see how thick each of them should be. So I can just do that on my section view here. That's 8 inches. This is 1'4", so 16, right? 2 feet, 2'8", so it's 8-inch steps coming up from the floor. So we'll extrude these accordingly. So extrude that one 8 inches. Then we'll extrude this one 1'4". Then we'll extrude that one 2 feet. We'll extrude the next one 2'8". And we'll extrude the last one 3'4". Okay, so now I have all of these risers, and if I hit Shift C, I can see those steps going up. Great. And then my last step will be to add in the chairs. Okay. So to do that, and maybe I should put these all, usually if I'm doing a more complicated theater, I put this on its own layer. So maybe I'll go ahead and create a new design layer that I can put the audience on, right? So audience, seating. So that'll give us risers and chairs all on audience seating, and that should be a little bit easier so we don't accidentally mess it up. So we're going to switch over to audience seating. And now we're going to use the seating section tool to create the chairs that are going to fill in on top of these risers. And if I go back into this layer, there aren't any chairs there, but that's okay. We're going to do some here. So to do chairs, we're going to come into the event tools, which looks like a little theater. We're going to pick up this box of chairs, and then I'm going to draw a rectangle. I have to actually switch from this magic mode into this rectangle mode. I'm going to go ahead and draw it. It's going to be a little bit bigger, like I want it to be longer because there is, as you can see, a row of chairs on the floor. Then I'm going to click in the center of the section, and I'm going to go straight ahead, right? And try and get as straight ahead as I can. Okay, so we have our chairs. They are currently set to the event chair, which is the correct kind of chair for this space. And the distance measurement is back leg to front leg for row spacing. And I think we actually want to use front leg to front leg. But I also think our risers are 3 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can double check that in your drawing, right? And then we have a rise, which is how high up each step will be, and we know that that per row is 8 inches because we just built that. So I'm going to just do this, and we're going to see how it goes. See if it places them where they're supposed to be. So if I hit Shift C, yeah, I can now look at the side view and see if the chairs are all sitting where they're supposed to, and they will be, I think, once I shift the whole box of them so that the back of the chair is lined up with the edge of the riser. So if I come in here, I can just go boop, 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 and I can shift those back so that the backs of the chairs are at the backs of the risers. Maybe nudge, nudge. Maybe nudge, nudge. Okay, now I'm going to delete some chairs out of the way because I actually want the aisles to be able to walk in. I don't want people to have to like climb over the people in front of them. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to delete 2 chairs going all the way back. And then I'm going to delete an extra these extra 3, really it needs to be 4, so that those chairs are sitting on the riser. Okay. This is where the booth is in this little tiny box. So that's where people go over there. And exit seating. And you can have it do either of those things and it'll be fine. So it's just now created a little seating section over here. With a little 34 number of chairs. Okay, I'm going to just shift that slightly away from the wall and we should be good. Okay, so now I have a floor plan. I have chairs. There's a weird arrow here. That's the direction the chairs are pointing, and we can do that. We can get rid of that by unchecking display focus line. Okay, so now I have my 34 little chairs. I have an aisle so that people can get there. I have all of these steps, and if I go into a 3D view, right, it looks like that. Your chairs might be bright blue. It's hard to say. Sometimes they come in bright blue in those event seating chairs. Okay, so I now have a plan and a section that I've converted into this 3D model. So I can turn off my exit theater plan, come back into my top plan view, and I can turn off, you can delete all of this excess. Doop, doop, doop. Okay. And now I'm going to switch to show snap others so that everybody looks the same. And I'll create 2 viewports. I'm going to create a top viewport and a section viewport of this theater space. Those will get plated over here, right, into the ground plan and section layers of my drafting. So here we go. View, create viewport. We're going to put it on the ground plan layer. We're going to go ahead and blow it up to 1/2 inch scale because this is a very teeny tiny theater and it should fit. We're going to call it ground plan. And let's see. Yeah, great. Okay. So that's now the ground plan, and you can update down here in your title block with your information. That'll be sheet 1 of this package, and then we're going to have Vectorworks draw that section view for us. So we're going to come in here, select our viewport. We'll go to View, Create Viewport, and Let's see what it says. Oh, create section viewport, sorry. And now it says click to begin section line. So I want it to go straight through the center, but I'm actually going to just shift it slightly so that I'm not cutting through the middle of a chair. So I'm going to just do the section viewport from here and go horizontal. And now there's like, once I've clicked twice, there's a little arrow. So if I double click, it'll create that section looking in the direction of where the chairs are. We're going to put it onto the section layer. We're going to call it section view and let everything else remain the same. Okay, so here we are now in the section view. Great. And the last thing we're going to need to update is we want those diagonal lines, right? Like we have in our plan view. We want our cutaway view to have diagonal line hatch as well. So what that is controlled by in Vectorworks is a generated class called section style. So if you come over here to the little alien man, or whatever that is, I don't know, the little dots with the dots, there's the class's heading. We're going to come down in here and find where it says section style, and we're going to hit edit on that. So I right clicked and I went into edit, and I'm going to switch it from solid to hatch, and then it remembers that hatch that I used before from ANSI cast iron, that is those diagonal lines. So now it'll match our friends. And if we make sure this check mark is checked for use at creation, then it'll update that existing drawing. Section view, great. And then we hit update and you'll update your title block. And now we have two plates, right? We have our ground plan and we have our section. You'll see on the ground plan there is a marker for that section line that is automatically generated. So that's great. So those two viewports are connected. And then our last step is to use a different tool in the menu called Publish instead of the basic exporting individual. So, and then we will use a new export feature called Publish instead of just exporting individual PDFs as we have been. We're going to use this Publish feature. It allows you to create multi-page PDFs, which is what you want in this case. So you want your ground plan and your section view to both be in the same PDF. You're going to select both of those and you'll just hit this little arrow. They'll come over to this published set side and then you say publish. I usually don't bother saving them as a set. I just let it be what it is. And then I'll just say this is the exit theater export. No, it doesn't matter. Bartenstein Exit Theater, that's fine. If you want to do the date, that's always a good practice, right? So 10/6/2025, and put that someplace you can find it, like in your CAD class folder. And now you should have a 2-page PDF with a plan and section view of that theater space. So that is it for that project. So we say, okay. We save it, and you will upload and submit to me both. You'll submit the Vectorworks file with your 3D model in it and this section view plan and section PDF. Great. Okay. Thanks, friends. Bye.